Welcome back into another episode of Hefe's Cabin. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. But let's go ahead and get right into today's episode. We're going to kick things off with a Thursday night review and then get into some Sunday football. And we also got a wrestling pay-per-view as well today. Wrestlepalooza, first time ever. Kick things off with John Cena and Brock Lesnar, and we also got the SmackDown review episode as well. So let's go ahead and get right into things. The Dolphins tried to rally in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough as they fall to 0-3. Josh Allen threw three touchdown passes on his way to a 31 to 21 win and a perfect 3-0 record this season and a perfect 8-0 record on Thursday Night Football as well. James Cook carried the ball 19 times for 108 yards with one touchdown as well. On the other side of the ball, Tua threw two touchdown passes with one interception. This season, he hasn't looked too great. He's got five touchdown passes with four interceptions, uh, and off to a 0-3 start. The Dolphins will look to try and pick the pieces up on Monday Night Football against the Jets, while the Bills will look to remain perfect next Sunday against the Saints. And if you guys tapped into my uh, picks for those games, we went 4 out of 5. Josh Allen easily went over those that 1.5 TD passes. He hit that, I believe it was in the first quarter. Um, Shakir, it was definitely iffy for a little while, but he hit that. Kincaid hit that easily in the first quarter. But then when we got to the Dolphin side of the ball, unfortunately, A-Chain could only get over those receiving yards, and he could not get over those rushing yards. So it is what it is. We got 4 out of 5, and we'll move on to the next one. The Bills, as I said, dominated that matchup, and we'll see what happens next for them if they can keep things rolling next week. Let's go ahead and get into some Sunday football, though. We got a bunch of 1 o'clock games. First up, we have the 2-0 Colts at the 0-2 Titans. Daniel Jones is off to a hot start on his new team thus far. But now let's see how things fare for him on the road for the first time this season against a division rivals at that. But though that division rival team is seeking the first win of the season of their own with rookie quarterback Cam Ward, who hasn't looked too impressive thus far in his NFL journey. Daniel Jones is 1-0 in his career versus the Tennessee Titans. Um, my best bet for this game is Daniel Jones over 211.5 passing yards. He's had over 270 yards in his first two games with the Colts. I know those two games were on the road. I'm sorry, we're at home, and this game is on the road. So, you don't expect him to throw 270 yards when you travel. But I do expect him to at least get over that 211 and a half mark. I expect him to get about 230, 240, but we'll see what happens there. In the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 1-1 Steelers at the 1-1 Patriots. Aaron Jones and the Steelers gear up to travel to New England to get back on track. However, history is not on their side as the Patriots have dominated the Steelers, winning 8 of the last 9 and 6 of the last 7 at home. Rodgers himself owns a 3-3 record versus the Patriots. Last week, the Patriots avoided an 0-2 start, beating the Dolphins 33 to 27 in Miami. May threw for two touchdowns, rushed for one 230 passing yards as well. My best bet in this matchup is the Patriots running back Stevenson over 11 and a half receiving yards. I do feel like the Steelers could come also into New England and pick up the win. I know history is not on their side, but Mike Tomlin is a great coach and he knows how to rebound off of a loss. And with a great quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, they may be able to get the job done. But the Patriots are no slouches this season, and they definitely have great coaching as well. So we'll see what Drake May can do against Aaron Rodgers. And another next 1 o'clock game, we have the 0-2 Jets at the 2-0 Bucks. Winless and injured Jets travel to Tampa without their starting quarterback Justin Fields in search of their first win of the season against the 2-0 Bucks team that's barely won both of those games. Um, they had a They had a on their first game one. They lost, or they I'm sorry, they won off a missed field goal attempt in the final seconds. And last week they had a last second TD run that gave them a 1 point victory. Can they keep that magic rolling when Tyrod Taylor and the Jets come to town, making his first start against them while Baker is 2-1 versus the Jets? These two quarterbacks dueled it out one time in their career back in 2021 when Baker was a Brown and Tyrod was on the Texans. Baker won that matchup 31-21. Can the Bucks start 3-0 for the first time in 20 years? My best bet in this matchup is Tyrod Taylor over 196.5 passing yards. I believe he's definitely going to get over that 200 mark. Um, yeah, I feel like they're playing with his numbers there, and it's obviously because he is not the starting quarterback. But I do believe that Tyrod would be able, and also I believe they're going to be playing down as well. So I think he's going to have to throw the ball a lot more. So I definitely like that 196.5. In the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 1-1 Raiders at the 1-1 Commanders. Geno Smith and the Raiders travel to the nation capital, looking to correct his three interception game from last week and attempt to get back to form from week one when he threw for over 300 yards. While the Commanders look to correct a lot of mistakes from week two. Thursday night football encounter with the Packers. Jaden Daniels couldn't get anything going. Unfortunately, he is set to miss this matchup with the knee injury, and we will get Marcus Mariota at the helm. He is 0-2 versus the Raiders thus far in his career. Geno Smith has a 1-0 record versus the Commanders. He beat them last year. Oh, I'm sorry. He beat them the year before Jaden Daniels got drafted, and he threw for over 350 plus yards with two touchdowns in that matchup. My best bet in this matchup is Brock Bowers over his 58.5 receiving yards. After watching Tucker Kraft get loose on them on Thursday Night Football last week, it's hard not to look at Brock Bowers to do something similar. In the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 2-0 Rams at the 2-0 Eagles. Matthew Stafford and the Rams look to start the season 3-0 as they travel to Philly, who looks to do the exact same thing. These two teams met last season twice, where Saquon Barkley alone had over 200 rushing yards in both of those games. He combined for 460 rushing yards. Kyron Williams, the Rams running back, had at least 70 yards in both of those matchups as well. Philly did win both matchups. First in the regular season, 37-20 in LA, and then in the divisional round of the playoffs, a little bit closer game of 28-22. I expect all trends to continue here as far as Philly winning, and my best bet in this matchup is Saquon Barkley over the 89.5 rushing yards. Having over 200 plus rushing yards against this team last season, it's hard to just overlook this. I know they just picked up running back Tank Bigsby in a trade, but I still expect Saquon to at least get 90 yards. I mean, 200 plus, playing him twice last year. I don't think they have a game plan for him, so I expect that trend to continue. In the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 1-1 Falcons versus the 0-2 Panthers. After a week one missed field goal loss to Tampa in the final seconds, the Falcons corrected those mistakes on Sunday Night Football, and they've also released their young Hoku as well and now they have a new kicker against the Vikings in week two. Um, they won 22-6. Can they keep things rolling versus the 0-2 Panthers? Bryce Young, however, though, in his career is 2-1 against the Falcons, winning two straight. Last week versus the Cardinals, Bryce Young and the Panthers tried to rally with 19 second half points, but it just wasn't enough. Can they finally get one when they come home for their first home game of the season? My best bet in this matchup is Chuba Hubbard over 56.5 rushing yards. He's hit this in three straight games against the Falcons. In the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 2-0 Bengals versus the 1-1 Vikings. The Burrowless Bengals travel to Minnesota looking to change history without their starting quarterback who suffered a toe injury last week. However, Jake Browning is not new to this. He stepped in for Burrow in 2023 for 7 games, going 4-3 in that stretch, even beating the Minnesota Vikings at home in overtime, 27-24. And can he recreate that magic again? The Vikings will be without their running back Aaron Jones and quarterback J.J. McCarthy. They will look to correct mistakes from last week on Sunday Night Football when they matched up against the Falcons. They just couldn't get anything going into the end zone. only securing 2 field goals. JJ threw 2 interceptions, and George Mason could not get anything going on the ground with 30 rushing yards for the game. Carson Wentz will get the start for the Minnesota Vikings. Wentz is 1-1 versus the Bengals in his career, while Browning is a perfect 1-0 versus the Bengals. I'm sorry, versus the Vikings. My best bet in this matchup is Jake Browning over his 239 and a half passing yards. I believe that he is going to light that field up with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. In the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 0-2 Texans at the 1-1 Jags. The Texans haven't gotten off to the start that they wanted to, losing their first 2 games by a combined 6 points. However, C.J. Stroud is 3-1 versus Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. Last week, the Jags were seconds away from starting the season 2-0, but backup quarterback Jake Browning ran right up the middle and to seal the game for the Bengals. Can the Jags rebound after getting swept by the Texans last season, or will the Texans secure their first win of the season? My best bet in this matchup is Nico Collins over his 68 and a half receiving yards. He's hit that in 3 straight games, going over at least 100 yards. And I also look for the Texans to pick up their first win in the season against them. I can't see the Texans going 0-3 at this point in the season. The Packers in the next 1 o'clock game, the 2-0 Packers versus the 0-2 Browns. The Packers lost wide receiver Jaden Reed last week with a broken collarbone, but they managed to get the job done on Thursday Night Football, and now they have their sights set on the Cleveland Browns. Josh Jacobs is also looking to extend his rushing TD streak to 12. And on the other side of the ball, after a tight Week 1 loss to the Bengals, the Browns got dismantled last week versus the Ravens. And now Joe Flacco looks to change course at home and avoid an 0-3 start. The last time the Browns started 0-2, they ended that season 0-16. Joe Flacco in his career is 1-3 versus the Packers. My best bet in this matchup is Jerry Jeudy over his 50 and a half receiving yards. He's Joe's favorite target. Thus far this season, he's gotten at least 8 targets in each game. And to top things off, they will be playing the Packers, who are very dominant, and they will be playing from behind pretty much most of this ball game, which means the ball will be in the air for the majority of this game. So I highly expect Jeudy to get well over that number. That's all the 1 o'clock games. So let's go ahead and get into our 4 o'clock games that we have for Sunday. The first one up, we have the 1-1 Broncos at the 2-0 Chargers. The Broncos travel to LA after a heartbreaking penalty cost them a 2-0 start, while the Chargers are seeking a 3-0 start for the first time since 2002. Justin Herbert is 5-4 versus the Broncos, however, owns a 2-0 record versus Bo Nix, sweeping the Broncos last season. But the Broncos, but after the Broncos' heartbreaking 1 point loss, did that just add more fuel to their fire in trying to get them back from last season? Can Bo Nix finally get one against Justin Herbert? My best bet in this matchup is Bo Nix going over his 20 and a half rushing yards. He's hit this in both of his matchups against the Chargers last season. I believe he got at least 20 rushing yards last week, so I expect him to at least be able to get 21 this week. In my next 4 o'clock matchup, we have the 0-2 Saints versus the 1-1 Seattle Seahawks. The Saints are still looking for their first win of the season, while their quarterback Spencer Rattler, 0-8, is still searching for his first NFL win of his career. While on the other side, Sam Darnold is looking to build on his first win on his new team. Darnold owns a 2-1 record versus the Saints in his career. However, the Saints have won 6 of the last 7 meetings with 4 straight matchups. So history is definitely on the Saints side here and not on Seattle's. But my best bet is Seattle's receiver Jackson going over his 74 and a half receiving yards. He's hit over 100 receiving yards in both of his first 2 games thus far this season, and I expect that trend to somewhat continue to at least get him 75. In the next matchup, we have the 2-0 Cardinals versus the 2-0 49ers. The Cardinals almost had a fourth quarter collapse last week, beating the Panthers 27-22, and now they travel to San Fran looking to take on Mac Jones and the 49ers. Brock Purdy is highly unlikely to play in this matchup from head coach Kyle Shanahan. However, the 49ers managed to win last week without him anyways. Kyler Murray is 4-4 versus the 49ers, winning his last two matchups as he swept them last season and looks to continue that trend and start this season 3-0. My best bet in this matchup is James Conner going over his 50 and a half rushing yards. He hasn't produced much this season thus far, but he has hit this number in three straight games and four out of the last five against the 49ers. And I expect him to get going in this matchup. Um, it's the third week of the season, so I don't expect him to. He's not a slouch, and I don't expect his
Mm,
mediocrity to continue. I expect him to be able to get things going in this matchup.
mm,
But we'll have to tune in and find out. In the last 4 o'clock game, we have the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys versus the 0-2 Chicago Bears. The Cowboys travel to Chicago looking to build off their overtime win last week against the Giants. The Bears got embarrassed last week by the Detroit Lions 52 to 21 and look to get things back on track at home against Dak Prescott. However, Dak owns a 2-1 record versus the Chicago Bears, and defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus will be seeking his revenge against his former team that fired him last November. Their new head coach Ben Johnson is also one of his rivals from the Detroit Lions as well. My best bet in this matchup is wide receiver from the Bears, Rome, getting over his 61 and a half receiving yards. He's definitely Caleb's favorite target. And the cornerbacks on Dallas last week looked god awful. And I do believe the Bears would be playing from behind most of this game. But that is all for our Sunday regular season. I'm sorry, Sunday 1 and 4 o'clock games. Now let's get into some Sunday night football action.
mm.
We have a very interesting matchup here on Sunday Night Football this week. We have the 0-2 Chiefs versus the 0-2 Giants. And yes, you heard that correct. The Chiefs are 0-2. I did not mistake that. They are not 2-0. So this is very new territory for a lot of us, and definitely new territory for Patrick Mahomes, as he hasn't seen that type of number in a long, long time. However, the Chiefs are favored in this matchup 5.5 with the over and under at 44 and a half points. Sunday night football will be filled with two teams searching for their first win of the NFL season, and both teams obviously trying to avoid that 0-3 hole, practically knocking them out of the playoffs this early in the season. Patrick Mahomes has already played and beat the Giants once in his NFL career. Gino has played and lost to the Chiefs once in his NFL career, and he'll be looking to correct that mistake on Sunday Night Football. Mahomes is also desperate need for some wide receiver help. There was rumors of a Tyreek Hill reunion that sparked up. There's rumors that he could be getting some of his wide receivers back soon that are hurt. But we'll just have to tune in and find out. Patrick Mahomes, he continues to struggle though, however, but he still does own that 1-0 record against the Giants. So we'll see if he can make that 2-0. My best bet in this matchup is Wan'Dale Robinson over his 43 and a half receiving yards. But I also believe that the New York Giants win this football game and send the Kansas City Chiefs to 0-3. The Giants have looked impressive thus far this season, and Kansas City has looked god awful. They don't really have any receiver help. The Giants, they don't really play that great of defense, but I think they can get the job done against Patrick Mahomes um, and the Kansas City Chiefs. That is my shock of the week right there is the Giants money line. I think that's like 240 right now, and that's one of my favorite bets this week. But that is all I have as far as the NFL right now. I will get into Monday Night Football in the next broadcast. So that's it for this week's football. So if you guys are just here for that, I appreciate you guys for stopping by. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below for the next episode. But we are going to go ahead and get over into some wrestling. If all my wrestling fans just came down to the end of this broadcast for this very portion, I appreciate you guys for coming in. Also, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. And let's go ahead and get right into it. The SmackDown review. We had Brock Lesnar. He kicked off SmackDown with an F5 twice to Corey Graves. He yells in the camera backstage with a quick segment with Paul Heyman as well, talking about he needs to talk to him later. In our first matchup on Friday Night SmackDown, we had Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus the Secret Herbis for the tag team titles. The winners of this matchup and still our tag team champions is Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Um, in the next segment, we had Fraxium coming out, which looked to be set up for a matchup. However, the Vision came out and attacked them. Nick Aldis would come out and make a tag team matchup for right then and there, and the Vision would end up winning this matchup. After this, we had Nia Jax coming out next, cutting a promo that led to Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill coming out, and we are now set for a triple threat matchup next week for the for the Women's World Championship between all three of these women. So that would definitely be great to see. I was thinking it was going to get added to Wrestlepalooza today, but I guess we are set for Friday Night SmackDown next week. We had Carmelo Hayes versus Sami Zayn in the U.S. Open Challenge match for this. As I said before, this isn't really much of an open challenge, as we already knew who Sami Zayn was going to be facing. But of course, winner and still champion is Sami Zayn. After this, we had our main event, which was the contract signing between Drew and Cody Rhodes. After the contract signing, there was a headbutt from Drew McIntyre, which led to a little bit more between these two. But we do know these guys will be main eventing Wrestlepalooza this Saturday. So that'll definitely be good to look forward to, and can't wait for the next episode of Friday Night SmackDown. And but before that, we do have Wrestlepalooza as well today. So we are definitely going to get into a preview of this. So let's go ahead and kick things off. We have John Cena versus Brock Lesnar that is set to kick things off today. There's a lot of rumors about John Cena potentially winning this matchup. I feel like Brock Lesnar was going to be the one to win this matchup. I would love for John Cena to win this matchup, but it's definitely a toss-up. You never know who's going to win. But I think WWE is going to be running with Brock to beat John Cena in this matchup. But it's definitely going to be one hell of a matchup, one hell of a ride. Probably going to get a lot of callbacks from their previous matchups in WWE as well throughout the course of that matchup. But I expect Brock to win that. We have the Usos versus the Vision in a tag team matchup. This is definitely going to be a great matchup for sure. The Usos haven't been in tag team action with each other in a long time. So it's definitely going to be great to see them two mix things up in the ring with each other against the Vision. The Vision has been a tag team for a little bit on Raw now, and they've definitely been acquainted with each other. So it's definitely going to be hard for the Usos to pick up the victory here. But I would love to see the Usos win this matchup. But I expect WWE to give the Vision this win. We have Io Sky versus Stephanie Valkyrie for the vacant Women's World Title that Naomi, unfortunately, but fortunately for her, had to vacate. My prediction is Stephanie Valkyrie will win this title, and she will be our Raw Women's Champion. Io Sky seems to be locked into some weird feuds with Rhea and Asuka and Kyrie, and just one big mess. So who knows what's going to happen here. I would have loved for Rhea Ripley to get added to that matchup, but fortunately, we will still get this great matchup. We have CM Punk and AJ Lee, the returning AJ Lee after a decade, versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch in a mixed tag team matchup. I, for one, thought this was going to be the main event of this Wrestlepalooza, but apparently it will not be. But I do expect CM Punk and AJ Lee to win this matchup between Seth and Becky. But I could see there being somebody coming out as like LA Knight helping Seth Rollins pick up the victory here. So be on the lookout for that. In the main event in this matchup for the undisputed WWE Championship, we have Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. I fully expect Cody Rhodes to win this matchup and come away with the victory here and continue his reign as our undisputed champion. I don't see Drew picking up the victory here, but Cody Rhodes is apparently expected to continue to do some more movies, so it could be possible that we get a reign from Drew McIntyre for the time being. We'll have to tune in to WrestlePalooza and find out. I'll hit you guys with a review of that episode and some Monday Night Football and reviews of Sunday and Sunday Night Football as well. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Appreciate everybody for stopping by the cabin, and I'll see y'all next time.